if you want to understand the mentality of like the average person who doesn't understand politics, but the average, I'm going to dip my tippy toes into the realm of political discourse, look no further than this back and forth I have with Mudahar. Now, you might know Mudahar as the sweaty dude who talks about, I don't know, niche Reddit subcultures or the dark side of the internet, stuff like that. Well, Mudahar apparently has been also chirping about how dangerous it is that I'm doing commentary on this platform. The more I see of Twitch, the more I'm surprised how Amazon hasn't cracked down on its leadership at all. Ticking time bomb, okay? The understander of political discourse. Now, why is he saying that? He's saying that because he wants me to get banned and he wants to like get his audience to also get agitated and stressed out and push for me to get banned again, to get deplatformed again. The platform he's on, I said, YouTube, has a less strict application of terms of service for political commentary. The litter of Nazis on there is constantly chirping about Twitch because I'm explaining why the Houthis are implementing a blockade against Israel's genocide. Then he replied to that and said, I'm actually speaking about the glorification of terror groups, something I know for a fact isn't allowed under the YPP, as I've assisted creators who were flagged for having ISIS jokes on their videos years ago. First of all, this doesn't mean you're knowledgeable about any kind of politics whatsoever, and this also doesn't mean you're knowledgeable about geopolitics. It doesn't mean you're knowledgeable about anything. This just means that under the YPP, you've assisted creators who were flagged for having ISIS jokes. It's completely outside of the realm of what the we're talking about, but this guy is completely incapable of understanding nuance at all, okay? I'm not talking about political ideological extremes. That's a separate topic. I hope you know I'm not a right-wing Nazi, but I'm very much against promoting terror organizations using my religion as a shield to ruin our name in front of the world. Yeah, dude, that's what's going on. You're such a good boy, you know? That's what it is. You're defending Islam by comparing the Houthis to ISIS, you dumb. You have the understanding of these different formations, okay? You have the understanding of different, like, versions of militancy, militant resistance against apartheid, or even, like, even civil war. You bracket it in the same way that, like, the average dumbass racist American brackets it. They're like, oh, they're all Muslim. They're all doing terrorism. Comparing the Houthis to ISIS is insane, okay? You do a lot more than just explain. You endorse organizations that promote violence, bigotry, and the eradication of groups of people. I didn't expect much good faith from the champagne leftist Nepo baby, just to be clear. To which I responded with, Houthis and ISIS / Al-Qaeda are enemies, you oaf. The American government considers Cuba and DPRK to be terrorist states as well. You're crying about a ridiculous designation that Trump slapped on in 2020 to aid the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in his deadly blockade. Biden overturned it, then put it back on to aid Israel. Of course, he doesn't understand any of these concepts. My point here is, I've done a bunch of stuff that he would also consider terrorism or aiding terrorism if his designation simply was state sponsors of terror from the American State Department's designation, because that's what it is. I have interviewed a Cuban doctor who has done medical missions on this broadcast on Twitch, okay, at a time directly because Marco Rubio was trying to make it illegal, okay? Marco Rubio was trying to make it illegal for Cuba to do medical missions, and I interviewed a Cuban doctor in Cuba. For the record, Cuba is a state sponsor of terror, okay? Cuba is a state sponsor of terror. Technically, that would also be illegal, or Twitch shouldn't allow this. I said this would be like demanding I get banned for interviewing a Cuban doctor in Cuba after Marco Rubio tried to make Cuba's medical missions illegal. Cuba is a designated state sponsor of terror. The entire point of the First Amendment is so I can discuss these things freely, dumb Canadian, right? And I think he like, he didn't quote retweet me after that, but he still kept posting stuff. But I'm not sure. I didn't see it because I was on a plane. Oh, he said, do you think I'm using an American designation? Cute name calling, but I'm Canadian. My government and many others consider them to be a radical terrorist organization. First of all, I'm sorry to say this, okay, but Canada is America's hat, okay? What America says, Canada also follows through with. I'm not even familiar if Canada considers the Houthis to be a terrorist organization. I'd be shocked if they do. The United Nations doesn't certainly seem to think so, from what I understand, because guess what, dude? A lot of the countries or a lot of the formations that America considers to be state sponsors of terror or terrorist organizations are ridiculous. They just do that for politics. They do that so they can just keep killing civilians over there. If you still haven't figured this out after 9/11, I don't know what the and tell you. Jesus Christ. The Houthis being designated as a terror organization was insane. Do you understand? Like, they're getting logistical support from Iran. That does not mean you are a terrorist. That's insane. That's an insane reason to be like, oh, you're a terrorist. Sorry. You are against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in your own country because KSA has its own interests in your region, like has its own interest in your country, and you are against that. Sorry, you're a terrorist now is a psychotic reason to decide that a militancy that is up until recently only involved in a civil war in his own country is psychotic. There are many ridiculous designations, I agree. This specific designation has merit decided by numerous countries, even countries who aren't friendly with each other, he says. Again, can this man have an honest discussion without name-calling like a child? They listed them as terrorists in December 2024, Lamau. Yeah, Canada's designation is also ridiculous. Regardless, by the way, the designation of them being a terror organization also, unironically, in the United States of America, will not stop you from being able to talk about them. And it should not stop you from being able to talk about them. I remember when these types of anti-HasanAbi slop commentary YouTubers were pro-free speech. Now they're pro-censorship, social justice warriors for Israel. They were never for free speech, but it is so crazy to be anti-speech, but at the behest of Israel. It is so crazy. It is so insane to be like, no, you can't talk about the Houthis, even if they are doing something that is against Israel, and you consider that to be positive. You are not allowed to say that, because that's what this is, okay? That's literally what this is. My position on the Houthis is not like, oh, they're awesome across the board, their domestic affairs are great, or they're not homophobic, or whatever the right? My position on it is very clear, okay? In terms of resisting against Israel committing a genocide, their blockade on the Red Sea is just. Their blockade on the Red Sea is good. You should be able to say this. You should be able to say this. It is ridiculous that the likes of Mudahar and many others, these apolitical, free speech, anti-cancel culture content creators, are all losing their minds at this commentary where they go, how dare you do that? How dare you say that? What's the alternative? That we're not allowed to talk about this at all? Is that a world that you want to live in? I don't know. I don't think that's an appropriate thing to advocate for. They actually don't care, Hassan. They just want you deplatformed. I know, but what do you want me to do? Not address how inconsistent and incredibly hypocritical this is? Like, oh, okay. I guess I'll just sit around as they constantly churn out and like whip up their fan bases into actively trying to deplatform me. I'm not going to stop pointing out this ridiculous idea, especially because these people have no understanding. Notice how he didn't respond to anything here except the American designation. Where does this designation come from? It comes from America. Who is the real reason why the Houthis were ever placed on a terrorism list? America. That was, at the time, when Donald Trump did this in 2020, on his way out, that was already a controversial decision because it actually limited humanitarian aid from going into Yemen at a time when it was critical, at a time when it was a necessity. The al-Houthi family were already sanctioned by the United States of America. The al-Houthi family also did not actually participate in any sort of global network of trade. They're in Yemen. Okay, so they didn't even end up sanctioning anything serious. All they did was implement a further blockade upon the Yemen population, the civilian population that was starving due to the famines that were created by the Saudi Arabian government. How did they do that? With what weapons did they do that? I might add, our weapons. How else did they do that in Yemen? Oh, that's right, through Al-Qaeda, an actual internationally designated terror organization. Looping all of these guys up and being like, well, that's just like making jokes about ISIS. Like, no, it's not the same as making jokes about ISIS. Perhaps that's the reason why I don't make jokes about ISIS, actually. Perhaps that's the reason why I'm not a fan of ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Like, this is my job. I don't go to your job. I don't go tell you what to do with a Steam Deck. You know what I mean? Like, if I were to tweet constantly about like Mudahar's Steam Deck reviews are ass, he doesn't understand how to operate Linux or whatever, everyone would make fun of me. Everyone would be like, dude, what the are you talking about? You don't know anything. Shut the up. Stay in your own goddamn lane, politics, man. But when it comes to politics, you can just lean on the stupidity of the audience and just directly yell at a guy who knows more than you do while in the process of demonstrating your idiocy. And people who are also just as idiotic will go, yeah, you did it, King. You did it. My argument here and my anger here and my resentment here is about the stupidity and the entitlement of these dumbasses who just sit there and demonstrate their lack of intellectual curiosity on this process and yell at those who actually do approach the subject matter with a little bit more nuance than you would normally get. And they yell at motherfuckers like me for doing this. That's what's so crazy. They're like, no, it's not enough that I am intellectually incurious, but I want others to also not be intellectually curious either. How dare you? How dare you talk about the nuances and the differences in both methods and ideology of different kinds of militancies? How dare you not just say, these guys are just like ISIS, they're terrorists because America said so? What the If there is a comparison here to be made, it is between Israel and ISIS, who have aligned time and time again, okay? Goddamn. Or Al-Qaeda and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United States of America in opposition to groups like the Houthis. Yeah, he said even countries that aren't allies, but the countries that aren't allies are Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, United States, Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. And he's too stupid to understand that when he says those countries that aren't allies, yes, they are allies, you moron. They're aligned in dominating Yemen. They have a material interest in dominating Yemen. That is the reason why they are aligned in dominating Yemen. The idea that Saudi Arabia and the United States of America are not allies, if you were to openly say such a stupid, I feel like a 14-year-old has a better understanding of politics than Mudahar when he says, oh, Saudi Arabia and America, they're not allies. UAE and America, they're not allies. Are you kidding me? Where are they getting their weapons from, you moron? Where are the planes coming from? Where are the guiding systems coming from? Where are the missiles coming from? From us. We sell it to them and then they use it on Yemen. Holy shit. Of course there are allies. Saudi Arabia is up the United States' ass, dude. Mohammed bin Salman will wear American leadership like a glove sometimes. He just shoves his ass up the American leadership and do this so they yap. What do you mean they're not allies? Please have Avi Shlaim on. I would love to hear him dismantle Ethan's Hasbara. We're working on it right now. But like the reality matter is it doesn't matter to these people. It doesn't matter that, like, you know, well-established scholars and historians directly are at odds with them. They don't care. And they know that they don't have to care because those are just some dumb nerds, okay? Whereas YouTubers can tackle this issue from the point of drama, and a lot of dumb Americans only care about the drama angle of it all. That's it. It is incredibly difficult to get the average American to respond to this stuff with the intellectual depth necessary to even scratch the surface and develop a deeper understanding. And the reason why they yell at me so much is because I am capable of doing that for many people. Many of you have done that. Many of you gone through that journey. They consider that to be radicalization. It is literally post 9/11 hysteria. We are back and firmly in that kind of rabid Islamophobic hysteria now. It is so psychotic. I thought maybe we were above this. Turns out we are certainly not above it. This is literally like, hey, why are we invading Iraq? How dare you say that, you terrorist? That is all this is. Hey, why have we dropped 4 F-18 fighter jets in the process of bombing Yemen, the poorest country on the planet? You terrorist, how dare you say that? You love terrorism! Terrorism! This is literally what happened after 9/11, okay? All of those people that we now look back at fondly for protesting against the decisions that the government was making and demonstrating the social courage necessary to speak truth at a time when everyone was immediately hostile to you and wanted you to go to prison or wanted you to get killed. All of those people that we look back and go, wow, Jon Stewart, he really nailed it, huh? Like those guys, they were literally speaking out against the American government at the time. Also here, a single picture destroying decades of Western propaganda on terrorism, a made-up label weaponized selectively against adversaries until they're either destroyed or become allies. As Chomsky once said, if they do it, it's terrorism. If we do it, it's counterterrorism. I mean, this guy literally, like 6 years ago, was beheading people, okay? Like directly beheading people. And now he's offering kissy poos to Macron. How the did that happen? We remain committed to bringing the leading AQS figures, Al-Qaeda and Syria figures in HTS to justice. Stop this terrorist, Mohammed al-Jablani. I think he still might be on the terror watch list, by the way. I still have some difficulty believing with my own eyes that Abu Mohammed al-Jalani, a man who when I was a teenager was a leader of an Al-Qaeda branch and wouldn't show his face on camera, is now meeting with Macron as any other state leader would. They don't do this kind of for actual national militancies that are seeking out emancipation from our foreign allies like Israel, okay? They won't do that. But as long as you declare allegiance to Israel, then you can do this. Then you can just go out there and parade around. Bro, people are so funny. He's like, dude, you don't understand. He went to Iraq to fight the U.S. insurgency. Okay, dude. You know, couple beheadings in the process. Bro, you're talking about Al-Qaeda, man. What the are you saying? What they claim I'm doing, you're unironically doing right now. You are trying to whitewash someone who was a leader in Al Qaeda. Like, hello, what are we doing? That's crazy. This is why this distinction matters. The distinctions that I put on when offering coverage to different kinds of militancy in the Muslim world, their ideology, their methods, their operations. Like, we have to learn about this so that don't turn around and go, come on, man, he just joined Al Qaeda to defend against the United States of America. It's like, okay, my bad.